Party. And my ex-husband and I were called to a decision because we could not know the facts. We could not know the justification, but we felt we were called to a decision to join a Marxist-Leninist organization that did armed self-defense for the Black Panther Party and pick up the gun and go to houses in Oakland and attempt to try to, frankly, rather uselessly, defend the Black Panther Party. Now, about having confessed this to you, that means that even though I'm allergic to marijuana, I'm never going to get on the Supreme Court. But I think I kind of lost that long since. So I really want to say that I think sometimes, particularly when we abstract ourselves from the so-called subject positions, as if this happens to other people, but not to us. It happened when we were called upon by the Revolutionary Association of Afghan Women to oppose the bombing of Iraq and Afghanistan. It happens all the time in our day-to-day lives where we are acted upon if we put ourselves into vulnerable positions. And let's face it, part of our shielding ourselves from this defenselessness is through, theoretically, philosophically, undoubtedly through pumped-up subjects. But it's also for shielding ourselves from putting ourselves in situations where that rock is going to be thrown at you and you are going to become subjectified at that moment and called to action.
I want to add something. I think that shooting blanks is exactly what the Irish hunger strikers did, you know, because they had no weapons. They were incarcerated in a panoptical apparatus, and they were able to shoot those blanks precisely because they had gone through 4 years of a dirt protest in which they were taking their feces, smearing them on the walls, flattening them out, and writing Gaelic and studying Gaelic verbs and conjunctions in those scratched marks on those feces-covered walls. And the discipline of the body that emerged, that culminated in the dirt protest and the hunger strike, originated, as they've all told me, in torture, in their being tortured. So we're shocked by the hunger striker, we're shocked by the suicide bomber, we're shocked by these Tutsis from the townships, right? And in that shock, we erase their prior textualization by state and economic violence. And we decontextualize them and don't realize that they are still shooting blanks because they are in many ways trying to rescript and rewrite and reframe the violence that's been already written into their bodies. On the other issue of shooting blanks, I've been constantly told since I began writing about violence, and I think this issue is about writing and violence, and I think we should really get that on the table and let's talk about it. Not about political action, which I think is a false issue. Since I've been writing about violence, I've been told several things. You cannot write about it unless you can prescribe a cure for it, a resolution for it. You cannot write about it unless you can enable us to take political action. You cannot write about it if you sensationalize it or make it spectacular or construct a kind of voyeurism around it. And it's another issue. You cannot write about it if you end up aestheticizing it. And all these points that I've been the recipient of, and not only myself, but other people like Michael Tausig and other people who have been pioneering, working on some of these issues ethnographically at least, basically reveal an incredible iconoclastic relationship in academia to the representation and the depiction of violence. We want violence in containable, apotropaic representations that sustain our immunization to violence. And if a writer transgresses that, then the iconoclastic strictures become to be imposed. You're not giving us the resolution. You're sensationalizing, you're aestheticizing. And I sat back, you know, and you also not, you know, you're not instigating a new political movement, a new political party, a new communist avant-garde that can resolve the violence of the world. Therefore, you cannot write. You should remain silent. And I find that a very problematic position. And I think it originates in an iconoclastic and highly aestheticized control over the representation in academia, the representation of violence in academia, and when people come out and begin to contest that particular aestheticization, then they are greeted with these kind of iconoclastic forms of censorship and inadmissibility.
Well, any closure to an event like this will itself seem violent, but I think we're all very, very indebted to our speakers today. I hope you can join me in thanking them for